Switch it up. I know I normally do like a regular introduction. Black is More podcast. We are back. Two favorite hosts, Marcel, Aaron. Marcel, you want to say what's up?
Yellow,
Tell
hello.
the people you hear.
Yellow, hello.
Cool. So yeah, we are back. Thank you as always for joining us. So glad you decided to let us spark your mind. One conversation at a time. Sal came up with that, our slogan there. So, 3 topics for you today. We are going to talk about some comments that a mayor in San Antonio, Miss Mary, what's her last name?
Taylor?
I'll look it up.
Is it Taylor?
Taylor. Yeah, I think so. Miss Mary Taylor, she made some comments that we just kind of want to address. We'll talk about something very interesting called medical enslavement, and we got a clip from a scientist named Mike Adams that we will play and kind of introduce that topic. And then lastly, something I'm kind of pumped about because I was talking with my coworkers about this. This kind of sparked my interest in bringing this to the show. But the N-word, man. You know, why do we use it as black people? Why do we call each other that? And why do we, essentially, why do we use it? So, yeah, stick around for that. I'm sure you're going to have some opinions about it if you're listening. So, first topic, Miss Mary Taylor. So I'm just going to summarize here. She is a mayor in San Antonio, black lady, African-American woman. So she's representing us well, I would say, until she said well, she just kind of made some comments. I don't know what the context was, but I was reading an article that you shared with me, and she basically said that people's poverty or their kind of hardships, if you will, financially, is a result of them not having a relationship with their creator. And she's referencing God because she was talking to somebody who's a part of like a Christian organization. So she's, pretty much saying that people are, in poverty because they don't have a relationship with God.
Man, oh
so,
man.
Without further ado, Sal, what do you think?
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, Christians took an L with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because she did claim to be Christian. So Christians took an L. I wouldn't say black people, so it's Christians with the one L in their column. And basically, I'm just going to put it like this. Atheists, I'm not an atheist, but atheists view Christians just like white people view minorities. And the reason why I say that is because if you see a minority mess up, right? Yeah. That is basically how the white person is going to view them. The ones that are prejudiced or whatnot. That's how they're going to view them. That's how they basically represent for everybody. So basically, with her saying this, if you're an atheist, you're going to look at her and be like, yeah, see, that's why I can't rock with Christianity, because of people like her. Right. And that's how, white people in general view minorities, is if you see a black guy sagging his pants, yeah, those black people, they just be sagging their pants. It's the same thing. It's the same view. Right. So basically with, what she said, it was asinine. It was wow. Yeah. I mean, for you to say that, it speaks volumes because like there's lots of atheists that I know that are actually wealthy and they don't have a relationship with the so-called creator. So
Right.
I'm trying to figure out her correlation with that. It just makes Christianity look bad when you're actually trying to represent it and you're trying to tell the word to people, hey, you're poor because you're black. That's terrible. That's a terrible message because there's a lot of poor black people who have some of the best relationships with God, I could tell you. They pray
absolutely.
and talk to him all the time. And the people who don't really have much of a great conversations with them or relationships with them or her, they basically are living life pretty darn well. So that was just a stupid comment. I don't really call too many things stupid, but that was just plain stupid. So what do you think about it, Avery?
Well, I don't really know what the motivation was behind it, honestly. Like, I don't know what, I guess, kind of caused her to want to say that. But when I'm thinking about it, she's not really saying anything that I haven't heard in the church before, just like differently. Like people, because I was talking about this topic with a coworker of mine, and they were just saying you can put anything in front of that statement. You don't have a relationship with God. And as a result, you don't have this. You can throw anything in there. And that's one of the things that I think, and we've talked before about is that, kind of makes me question Christianity. It's kind of like, it's always something that, covers it. It's always some kind of cop-out, if you will. Like, oh, well, this isn't going right because, you're not praying enough or,
It's always
so I don't know. I don't. Exactly. Yeah. So, I don't know. Like you said, I don't think there's any correlation there. Like I don't really feel like, because like you said, there are people who just have the best relationship with God. They go to church every Sunday, blah blah blah, and they're not well off. They're living paycheck to paycheck. So yeah, she just kind of, I don't know. She wasn't thinking.
Right.
She wasn't thinking.
Like I know atheists. I know some atheists that have my back regardless, and they would take the shirts off their back for me if I needed it. Some of the best people I know, and then I also know Christians who will go to church on Sunday, talk about you all during the week, have sex with everybody in the congregation,
right,
and come back Sunday holier than thou. So I'm still trying to figure out a correlation with that. Like,
yeah, I'm confused too. Like I said, because that's one thing we try to do. We don't just try to label things as good or bad. Like we want to understand the motivation and the why behind what people do. But I'm having a hard time finding it because that's just that doesn't really. That's the same as like you were using the example, just labeling an entire race or culture.
Right.
That's just, you can't do that. Like that doesn't make sense. That's not really logical. So. Yeah. But she said it.
Taylor. Yep.
Right. Shout out to Miss Taylor. Hey, speaking of shout outs, man, and we said this, bro. I meant to do it at the top of the show, but we said this was gonna happen. But shout out to Vito. I think it's Gisualdi. Gesualdi. Look that up. He's a YouTuber. This man tried to break up some riots with the Pepsi cans. He tried to hand the police Pepsis. We said it, I think, 2 episodes ago that somebody was going to do it. He did it.
Yep.
He did it. It made me so happy because I was like, yes.
Someone took the Pepsi and just threw it to the ground.
Right. Yeah. But, yeah, so shout out to Vito. But yeah, so Mary Taylor making those kind of, I don't know, crazy comments. But yeah, so next, here we go. Medical enslavement. Very interesting topic. This is something, again, that you were talking to me about a little bit earlier in the week. And so we have a clip of a guy named Mike Adams, and he's a scientist. He works for what is it? News?
Natural
Real
News.
Naturalnews.com. Yeah. He's the he runs that site. But he's gonna, in the clip, he kind of gives his own introduction, so I won't say too much. But I'll just play this clip real quick so he can kind of start the topic off about what we're talking about when we say medical enslavement. So here's Mike Adams.
So let me be blunt here. You probably know my name's Mike Adams. I'm the health ranger. I run the science lab here. I'm a scientist. I'm a food investigative researcher. I'm an investigative journalist. I've won 3 journalism awards for investigative journalism. I'm a whistleblower. I'm an author. I wrote the book Food Forensics. What else? I run naturalnews.com. I have seen that there is a genocidal overlay to the medical system as it is operated today. It's not just the medical system, but really the entire public health system is probably a better term. There is a racist, genocidal targeting of black people, and it's more insidious than I think you can imagine. It's not just that they want to make money off the suffering and pain of black people in the cancer industry, for example. It's also, if you look at this water poisoning, where they knew about it and they covered it up. Look, I'm an expert in heavy metals. This is what I do in this lab. I test for heavy metals, okay? Lead causes mental retardation. It is one of the most well-known, well-documented side effects of lead exposure or lead consumption. It's no coincidence that this poisoning in the Flint, Michigan water was literally dumbing down kids in the black community, and that these white people knew it was happening and allowed it to happen and kept it happening and covered it up and refused to warn the public. And they were trying to get away with it for another decade. You think this is a coincidence? I'm here to tell you it isn't. And the reason I'm going public with this, as obviously a white guy, is because, in the black community, black folks can talk to other black folks about this, and they can say things like, yeah, there's a racial targeting, genocidal agenda of the medical system, and some other person might say to them, oh, you're just saying that because you're black.
All right. So as you can hear there from the clip, pretty much what he's saying is that the medical community, or as he puts it, the entire public health entity is essentially targeting black people for profit, for, suppression, things like that. And, that stuff is essentially, he's just coming public and saying that this stuff is real. It's not just, the boogeyman. It's not a myth.
Right.
So what's your thoughts on that, man? Like I know I was pretty intrigued when I started listening to the guy, but.
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind is something that he said in a video in regards to, if a black person accuses the government or medical field of some type of tampering and some playing a genocide towards black people, they're just looked at, oh, you're black, you don't understand, or, it is what it is. But when a white person says it, it's like, oh, this shit's real. So, shout out to him for saying that, because that's exactly how we are when it comes to information these days. A lot of times we don't want to believe the black people that are saying these things in our own community. But then as soon as a white scientist or a white person comes in and says the exact same thing, now it's time for people to take things serious and all that jibber jabber. But anyway, that's the first thing that came to mind. I want people to understand the difference between racism and prejudice one more time, because I don't think people really understand exactly what that is. So with racism, you basically have the ability to control someone's fate and their destiny. With prejudice, you're basically prejudging someone because of their ethnicity. Now, the reason why I want to say that is because this is really racism.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yep.
Like it's not a black person saying, "Oh, I don't like you because you're white or you talk white." Yeah, that's prejudice. So you can never be racist if you're black, because we're not the ones controlling someone's destiny. We're not the ones, that can keep you from going to like a bad school or keep you from having clean water, or, we're not ones that can have the police brutalize you. We're not the ones that can make you live in a bad neighborhood. So, that's what I want people to understand. So, in the video, Mike Adams, he was basically referring to, the Flint water crisis. He was also referring a little bit to the Washington, D.C. water crisis. Now, in both of those cities, they are predominantly black communities.
Black, right.
So, people need to understand that D.C., even though we have all those politicians over there, it has been called in the past Chocolate City for a reason. Now, there was a study from a professor from Dartmouth College. I think his name is like Roger Masters. But he was basically saying that polluted water can cause ordinary people to have brain damage and violent criminal judgment. Just think of that. Now, when you think of black neighborhoods, right? And you're trying to figure out what the hell is causing these people to act this way. They perform scientific experiments all the damn time from the beginning to now. And, people are acting like, oh, well, black people, they just don't know how to act. Well, also, studies have shown that, lead water or manganese water basically causes mental retardation. As well. So you're basically dumbing down the black community, every second when they're drinking this terrible, dirty water. Like studies show, like, counties with like the highest polluted, water, they triple in crime rate than the, the normal water having people or normal water having communities. Like, think of triple. So when you see, black communities that are going through, tough times and there's lots of crime and stuff like that, a lot of that can be correlated to, how bad the water is. So, that's what I wanted to say about it. What you think?
Well, and that makes sense to me because, the body is made up majority of water, right? So, I mean, that's a very important component that, we need to function. So if it's polluted, essentially if you're poisoning yourself and you don't know it, your mental state can be thrown off. But I think that, the first point you brought up about him just saying when black people would bring up this topic, it doesn't really get acknowledged. I think that's important because I think that next time maybe somebody hears something like that, they won't just assume it's a conspiracy theory. They'll kind of, ask the question like, okay, well, let me do some research on this before I just completely dismiss it. But again, like you said, shout out to this dude for coming out to say this publicly. But unfortunately, I'm not surprised, man. I'm really not because, like we said, the topic, that we're discussing right now in the form of what Mike Adams is saying with these racially motivated forms of suppression and pollution and things like this that are going on in the black community is medical enslavement. It's a different form of enslavement. It's a different way for them to control black people. So, I mean, this guy, and again, this guy is credible. Like he's not just going in here putting shit in tubes, like trying to prove himself right. He's a credible guy. Like he said, he's won awards for his journalism. And he's done his research. So, it's sad, but I'm not surprised because we've seen other things like this happen. But it just so happens that this time it's through a medical form. And he talked about cancer too. How like a lot of people are in the black community are targeted for cancer because there's a relationship there to the vitamin D deficiency, and how black people have darker skin. There's a correlation there that we don't absorb as much sunlight or something like that. He was saying.
Right.
And actually, I'll put the link to the video in the description if people want to kind of look at that. It's like a 15, 16-minute video of him just kind of explaining these things. But yeah, man, like I said, I'm not surprised. It's sad as hell because, like, I think, doesn't Flint still have issues with their water? Like, they still don't have, clean water, right?
Yeah, I believe, I believe they're actually like working on that right now.
Mm-hmm. Like a solution for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, it's
After
like
like a year.
3 years too late.
Exactly. Like
I mean,
people's lives have already been damaged.
Right.
And
this
like some
is
child is now going to be.
Yeah, like this isn't the first time, something like this has happened. Like, this kind of reminds me of the Tuskegee experiments. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll talk about it in a later episode. But basically, with like the Tuskegee experiments, it consisted originally of like 600 black men. And it was like 399 with syphilis, and there was like 201 that didn't have it. And they were told that they were being treated for bad blood. Back then, bad blood meant a lot of things, possibly. And they didn't receive the proper treatment. And, they basically took part in the study that they didn't even give consent to. And then, like, in exchange, they basically were given like free medical exams, free meals, and burial insurance. And that study lasted for like, 40 years, instead of the original 6 months it was supposed to last. And that goes into what, Mike was talking about as far as, the whole cancer field, the whole cancer, treatment thing. Like, it's really targeted, at black people, because black people, if they give you chemo, they're going to get a lot of money in return for it. Mike had mentioned, I believe, what's his name? Dr. Fareed Fatah or something like that, of the Carmonos Cancer Center in Detroit. How basically he would, have black people come in for their screenings, gave them free screenings, but he would falsely, prescribe them chemo. And he would basically, order them to have to go through chemo. And sometimes it would be for, several years. And with that, he would bill like Medicaid and other insurance companies and make millions. And, until I think he said some type of like whistleblower within the actual office, told on him.
Yeah.
So, basically there's a lot of doctors out there that, prescribe people, or black people in general, chemotherapy, and saying that they have cancer that needs to be treated. And a lot of times these black people really don't have cancer. And, black people are just taking their words for it because they want to be healthy. They want to get done with something as soon as possible. It's really sick. That's the reason why I don't like the pharmacy industry, because there are so many, plant-like cures for cancer. But if, these cheap plants were actually given to us, it would basically mess up the whole entire pharmaceutical industry. A lot of people would be out of jobs in that billion, $1 trillion, industry. Just think of, all the medicine that treats stuff instead of cure stuff.
Right, exactly.
You wouldn't be able to come back to something and keep on buying it because, hey, you're cured already. So that's a huge reason why I don't like the medical field, because you got to deal with those lying ass doctors who, want to make a dollar. And, those pharmaceutical industry people, they will tell you they will tell the doctors, hey, if you do this, you get this amount of money. If you do that, you get this amount. So these doctors are actually prescribing people with medicine and chemo that don't really need it. And they could be cured of these things. But, it really pisses me off. But it was something nice to come across, a white person saying this, just exactly, so we don't look like we're the only crazy people that believe it. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I said, we said earlier, like it's pretty cool that he, is willing to do that, especially like with him being a credible source.
Right.
But yeah, man, it's and I don't really have like a beef or like a phobia or anything with the medical community. Mm-hmm. Like I believe in medicine and stuff, but when you see stuff like this, it kind of makes you wonder how where the blood is spreading, if you will. Like how many areas is this type of money driven racism touching, man. And unfortunately, like I think that's a big reason why stuff like this happens, is because it's all about the dollar, man. People in the medical community ultimately want to make billions of dollars, and in order to do that, they need to target a demographic or culture or race, and usually black people, the minorities, are usually at the bottom of that totem pole, unfortunately. So
and
but it's
we have I have a number of women friends that are actually nurses, and they actually care about their patients. I'm not talking about nurses. I'm talking about those prick ass doctors, and I'm talking about those lying ones. Not everybody's a liar, but for the most part, there are many doctors out there that don't give a shit about human life, and they just want to make money. Those are the ones I'm referring to. So I just want to be a little clear on that.
Yeah, I mean it's unfortunate, man, because that's like one of the professions that you need the most integrity in. I mean, like you're dealing with somebody's life and death essentially. And I remember not even relating to just the targeting of black people, but I remember reading an article a while ago that was saying half the chemo treatment was actually killing people.
Yeah,
the chemo wasn't even helping.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
It does.
It's a lot of questions and things out there.
It kills way more people than it actually helps. Yeah. I read something where there's like over 220,000 chemotherapies that actually kill people every year, as opposed to helping them.
Right.
And I'm not just talking about people who had cancer and died but also received chemo. I'm talking like chemo killed these people.
Right, exactly, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's sad, man.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it really is. And hey, we say it all the time, but please do your own research. We're talking about these things to kind of spark your interest in it, and to become educated, so maybe you can educate somebody else. So again, we'll put the link to the video of Mike Adams talking about these things, and do your own research. Don't just assume this is some kind of conspiracy theory. Prove us wrong. If it is a conspiracy, find the evidence. So definitely get information there. So last topic, man. Now this one, I'm really interested to hear your thoughts. And just to give people some context.
What's my fucking name? Mine.
Right.
But yeah.
So just to give people some context, so I have my coworkers, and I think I was telling you, man, I have my work section is really like into this show. Like it comes up, I think like once a day, and usually a few of my coworkers, maybe like one or two in particular, they always ask me like, hey, what are you gonna talk about, on the next show? And one of the guys who I talk to a little bit more regularly about it, I don't know how we got to talking about it. We always kind of talk about, social issues and things like that. But we started talking about the use of the N-word. And this gentleman's a Hispanic guy. And he was just asking, like, why do black people call each other that? Like, why do we use it?
Right.
And I think he was asking me, like, do I think it's okay for anybody to use it, or not anybody, but black people to use it, within their, their circles and stuff like that. And I said, I don't think so, because to me, the word was rooted in evil. And he was just kind of saying that, well, as a Hispanic guy, and, I'm not saying this to be offensive to anybody, But he was saying, I don't go around and call my other Hispanic friends like, hey, what's up, Spick?
Right.
Or, like, what's up, Wetback? Like they don't, we're the only race that does that to one another. So, that automatically got me to thinking, well, why? And I, for the life of me, bro, like I was researching all this stuff to try to figure out when the dynamic changed from the word just being negative, like white people calling black people niggers and stuff like that, to black people calling each other nigga with the A and it being socially accepted. So, yeah, man, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think it's, should be used within black communities and circles and not used by other people? Like, do you think it should not be used at all? Just what's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I basically look at the N word, or I'm going to say it nigga because I'm black. I have the privilege, right? Mm-hmm. Black privilege, that is. But anyway, the word is kind of like alcohol. You're not supposed to drink it, okay? But you just do. That is what nigga is. Like,
okay.
Black people, you shouldn't be saying it. But, there's the ones that say, oh, we took it and made it positive.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep.
I've seen with my own eyes white people conversing and arguing, calling each other niggas. I've seen white people call a black person a nigga or a nigger. From my past research before Kendrick Lamar said it, niggas was basically the crown with the serpent that you'll see on a lot of pharaohs and kings back in, the nice Egyptian civilizations and stuff like that. So, it is what it is. You can be like, oh, well, I'm just calling somebody a king. You could pull that card if you want, but just understanding the history of, what people have gone through with that word, is nothing that you want to actually promote. Your coworker made a great point. You don't go around like other races. They don't go around calling each other these negative terms that everybody else calls them. So with that, I basically look at the N word like alcohol. You're not supposed to have it, but you drink it anyway. It's
well.
I'll be the first one to say I say it sometimes.
Yeah,
a lot of times I say it when I'm rapping in the song. Listening to Jay-Z or Kanye or something, I'll say it easily. Just like I'm sure white people say the N-word when they are listening to hip-hop, even though they don't want to admit to it. It's cool.
Right.
I understand. Just don't say it around me. But, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to, I use it too. I would say as I've gotten older, I don't use it as freely, nearly as freely as I did when I was, younger. Like I don't just, call my friends that or anything like that. But like you said, in music or something like that, it may get used. But I think we were talking about earlier too, and something that I think kind of relates to this, or something that we should at least kind of talk about, is just is the calling, black people calling each other niggas, like, is it rooted in some form of self-hate? Is it just another form of black people kind of demeaning themselves without knowing it? Because like we always say, perception is reality, right? And you have to kind of consider, at least on one front, like what this looks like to the outside world, to the non-black community, right? Like, because again, they're not doing that. They're not doing that, and I get it. I understand like the side of the story that's saying like, hey, this is something that we took back and we changed the name a little. We switched it up a little bit, and all that stuff. But I don't know. I just, a part of me is just still like, it's still like we still know what it is. Like even though you changed it a little bit, we still know what it is. We still know that. Our ancestors, hated this word, and they would probably slap the shit out of us if they heard us using it now. and people have died for this word. So
Right.
like, is it a form of self-hate? Like, is that one of the things that are kind of motivating that word to stay alive? I guess
I'm torn because when it comes to the word nigga, you can't really speak for everybody. So it's a 50-50 thing for me because I understand both sides.
right.
When I basically look at nigga as the equivalent to the word bitch. Bitch has been spoken within I guess amongst women in their circle. They call each other bitch. But then also, when you're pissed off at a woman, women call each other bitches then. So, with nigga, I can use it as a term of endearment, or I could go the Pac and Michael Eric Dyson way of saying nigga as in not into getting goals accomplished. That type of nigga. So basically, there's two sides to it. Now, just because I say it, with my people does not mean another person outside that race can say that. Now, my thing is the popularity of the word nigga to me, probably came from black exploitation films back in the early, like the late 60s, early 70s. A lot of times, those stars used the word nigga in those movies and, it became popular. Now with black exploitation movies, these were movies that were basically directed and owned by white people, but they decided to give black people a chance. Now, in those movies, you had people being pimps and players, and they were actually the heroes as well. And they used the word nigga. And ever since then, since they were using it as a term of endearment, black people have just been running with it. And honestly, I feel like the word nigga should not be that big of a controversy. I feel like there's so many other things in this world that we need to worry about. Now, if I don't know you, right? If I don't know you and I call you a nigga, you have the right to hit me. The reason why I say that is because, I'm not going to call a random black person, what up, nigga? I'm not about to do that. Right. If I say nigga, I'm pretty much probably going to use it in term of endearment. So it's going to be to the people that I'm close with. I'm not walking up to an old man and saying, what's up, nigga? That's no. So that's the reason why I'm saying like that and the word bitch. If you want to, get pissed off about nigga, get pissed off about bitch as well. But I understand, people have gone through, so much with the whole nigger shit and all that. But at the same time, it's hard because I understand both sides. I understand the people who use it for endearment and people who use it, in disgust and hate. Because I'm not going to lie. If I call you a nigga while I'm mad, I'm really calling you a nigga. It's like, it's like you a nigga. Well, see,
and
like,
that right there is us acknowledging that we know it's a negative term or it has a negative connotation. I guess it depends on the context.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and the English language, man, is so fluid. Like it's just, words can mean, like if I say, hey, this hamburger was bad. You know that it didn't taste good, but if I say that girl is bad, she fine. The English language is just like that. Right. So I get the fact that words mean different things when you use them in different contexts, but in the context and the historical piece of this word, I think it's a little bit different. I guess it's a little bit trickier. And just another point there. I think that you were talking about black exploitation films. I think the hip hop industry, stand-up comedians.
Yeah.
These are other forms that have just made the word okay. And honestly, I think that it's probably a part of the reason why white people use it too is because we use it.
Yeah.
They see it so much and they're like, oh no, I'm not giving them excuse. I'm not giving them excuse.
I know you. I'm just saying for the viewers. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it's like if no black people, if all black people somehow just stop using the word nigga tomorrow, then white people eventually would stop using it. I feel like there's a bit of a correlation there with the use that we have, and just it kind of surviving. You know what I'm saying? Like that negative term kind of surviving instead of us just reading about it in history books. But yeah, again, like you said, I understand both sides. Mm-hmm.
So the whole saying, take a negative and turn it into a positive, right?
Yep.
Why can't this happen for this situation?
What?
That's me playing devil's advocate, but why can't we use it for this situation?
Mm-hmm.
Like, to me, that's the reason why I'm saying like this. Like, it's an issue, but it's really not an issue compared to all the other stuff that's going on.
Yeah.
Like, I can say, like, me and you, we're, we have common sense. We know when to use the word and when not to use the word.
Right.
So basically what I'm saying is, like, it's not keeping us from doing what we need to do to excel.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I'm saying, like, there's way more other things that we need to worry about. Like, I can address you as my brother, but at the same time, when I say that to a random person who may not be, as loving, they will say, I ain't your brother. You know what I'm saying? So, if I say nigga, if I say bro, if I say brother, if I say king, nigga, I ain't no king, even though there will be people that say that just because they don't like to socialize. I'm like, so you're a peasant? But anyway, like stuff like that, I'm really not going to worry about how I'm addressing people. So when it comes to the N-word, it's very tricky. Do we need to stop saying that and, say something else? Yeah, possibly. But when have you learned that, a word just stopped being used? I mean, there's old people that will keep a word alive, and next thing you know, it's popular amongst the youth. And the word I will use is swagger. Back in like 2007, 2008, 2009, somewhere around there, swagger made a huge comeback. I don't think people were really saying swagger back in the, early 90s, the 80s and stuff like that. I didn't hear the word swagger. But, years later, you hear the word swag and swagger because, older white people or black people, they kept that word alive somewhat, somehow, and it just became popular. So I don't see a way for that to just die down. Yeah. I really don't. I mean, do you think that word can ever really just die?
No. No, I don't think it's going anywhere. Well, and I was just bringing up the point that I think there's, I think there's a correlation there between, when white people use it and we continuously, see that from time to time. And like you said, a lot of white people probably have used it before, like in a private circle. Right. And I'm just saying a part of the reason that, because they listen to Drake. They listen to Lil Wayne or whoever, and he's saying it. And they say it in the lyrics when they're in the car by themselves. Right. So, I mean, it's just one of those things. And again, everybody will have to make that, determination for themselves. We're just kind of talking about it and playing devil's advocate on both sides. But oh no, it's an interesting dynamic, man, because like you said, like we were saying before, like we're the only race that kind of does that. Right. And I understand that, the school of thought that is taking the word back, but I understand the school of thought too that is like, man, look, hey, we had some important people who were fighting, and gave up their lives so that this word wouldn't be used towards us anymore, and now we're using it, amongst each other. So I mean, again, like you said, I understand both sides.
Now let's see this. Let's look at this though. So let's just say back in the day before we changed our language to English by force. Let's say that a king in Ethiopia, like in Ethiopia, that's the way they said king, right? A white person comes along, decides to kill you and your people or force you to, convert to their religion, then change your, language to English. And they start calling you, somewhat of a word that correlated or that sounded somewhat of the word that you used to use as king, but they made it bad. Now, if we use it right, if we use it today, and it just possibly was a positive thing, centuries ago, are we wrong because someone turned us against it? Because stuff like that happens every single day. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we can look back at history, and there's a lot of black people, and I will call some of them niggas, that actually hate the idea of Africa. They believe that Africa is is not them. It's poor as hell. Yeah. We've been programmed to actually hate Africa. When you look at TV, you look at flies flying around the kids' faces and shit, you really think that Africa is just some third world country or continent that just is terrible. But in reality, in history, it's been proven that Africa has had the richest resources that we could ever imagine for one continent. So what I'm saying is, when it comes to a word nigga, we just look at a history mark of racism, of slavery. That's where we start with the word nigga. All I'm saying is people need to go back even further and look and see, if the origin of that word was used as a positive, and then go from there. Yeah. Because a lot of times when, what we do as people, we think of a negative event and we automatically, have that in our head for years and just, associate that with everything. Oh, it's negative. Oh, it's negative. Right. But, just like the purpose of this show is for people to actually do their own research, to spark their mind to do their own research. So that's where I'm at with the word nigga. Yes, it was used against us in a negative way, but come on, there's a lot of stuff that has been told to us that clearly wasn't accurate whatsoever. And I'm just going to say the word nigga again. Niggas watch news every day, B. And the reason why I say that is because the news fucking lies to you every fucking day. They want to tell you a portion of what happened. You know what I'm saying? They will make Palestine look like the meanest country and make Israel look like victims. Even though Israel is fucking with Palestine, they will say, hey, Palestine's bad, they're evil, we need to help, Israel. But come on, like, to me, that's where I'm at with the word nigga. Like, do your own research. Don't take anybody's word for it. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I mean, like you said, I mean, we've been saying it, like, people have to kind of make that their own determination. Hopefully somebody hears this and takes it to, a coworker or a friend and asks them what they think about it, because, it is interesting. Everybody's going to have a different stance, and it's all going to be based on, your experiences. But, interesting topic. Definitely understand what you're saying. I definitely agree. There's a lot more important things that could potentially hold us back as a people. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. That I think is something that people should ask themselves. How you feel about the word. So
right.
But yeah, man. Well, that's all we got. That's our mark. Those are our 3 topics. Hopefully, people enjoyed it. Hopefully, you got something from it. Hopefully, it sparked your interest in a topic to do your own research or to go take it to a friend of yours so y'all can discuss it on your own. And as always, thank you for joining us, man. Sal, you want to hit him with the... Hit him with the famous line real quick.
Our perceptions are reality, but I also want to say another thing. So, the purpose of, this episode and others, like, we're telling you how the medical or pharmaceutical field is and, what the targets are. But I also just want people, black people and people in general, to understand, like, I want you to research plants. I want you to research all the other types of ways to cure things, because I don't want the purpose of this is for you to not accept that you have cancer and that you have to go through chemo. I'm sick and tired of seeing people go through chemo, 2, 3, 4 times. I'm sick and tired of that. So I just want people to, do their own research in life and see that, there's not always just one way. There's multiple ways. You just have to go find it. So I just want to say that.
Right. Good stuff. All right, people. That's all we got. Thanks for joining us. Please subscribe. Email us, blackismore@gmail.com. Free to subscribe. Can't damn talk. Free to subscribe to the channel. There, I got it that time. So please do that. And we will talk to y'all next time.